Okay, welcome everyone to session 3B, Friends in Touch, Solutions to Solitude and Remoteness of Deafblind Youth. Today we have Allison joining us. He has 20 plus years employment with Sense, specializing in activity programs for deafblind youth. He is the coordinator for the Deafblind Youth Network, providing worldwide connections in which young people can form friendships and explore different cultures. As a writer, theater practitioner, Simon has an interest in the performing arts, particularly relating to the inclusion for people with sensory impairments. He led the Deafblind Youth Network Theater Company as they toured internationally with their own play about Helen Keller. Simon is the founder and artistic director of Drama Express, an award-winning UK charity that provides opportunities for young people with complex disabilities to aspire to their ambitions to perform on stage. Welcome.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for the introduction and a bit of a biography of how I've come to be here today. I first started the Deafblind International Youth Network back in 2016. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the Youth Network? A couple of people, yeah. I suppose as the week goes on, you will get a clearer picture of all the different networks in DBI, and you may want to join one of the networks, and I'd be delighted if you'd like to join the Youth Network. So this afternoon I'm going to discuss the program called Friends in Touch, but I'm going to give you a bit of history behind the Youth Network, which will lead into the Friends in Touch program, because it is relevant, and also I'm plugging the Youth Network. The network started, it's around about 6 years ago. I was fairly new to DBI and going along to conferences, and similar to now, I was due to go to a breakout session, but for some reason I got the wrong room, where there was a topic about networks in DBI, which lay the foundations really for myself to start a youth network. I just thought within DBI there was the congenital deafblindness, acquired deafblindness, usher network, but there was nothing for youth. And I suppose that got me thinking that the youth are the next generation. They're going to be the deafblind people who are going to be on stages like now, and they're going to be really sort of the future in 10, 15 years, and how important it was to develop a membership and sort of lay those foundations, and that was my idea. So I submitted that to DBI, and the network was ratified, was the word that was used, into a fully fledged network. And we have been very visible as a network over the past 6 years. And I'm going to just chat a little bit about some of the activities we've done, which will go on to the Friends in Touch program. In that introduction there, it was mentioned that I am involved in deafblind theatre. I'm involved in the theatre profession as well, aside from my work as a practitioner. But often when I'm on stage, I'm either part of a play or I'm a different person. So this just feels completely different being me. So here we go. So it's known as DBIYN. And if you see any literature about the networks, we're always down at the bottom because we start with the letter Y. And we have a really good membership at the moment. We have 120 youth network members. 78 of those are deafblind youth, and 42 are associate members. Associates are professionals who work with deafblind youth. And we are represented by a magnificent 18 countries. dotted around the world. So starting in 2014 was the foundations for our first activities. We started off at Euro Disney as our first activity. It was fairly central to the countries that were represented by the youth network. And obviously it's quite, I mean, Disney is for all ages, but it is quite youth-focused. And then we've moved on, we've had a surfing kind of outdoor adventure activity in Western Australia. We've been to Switzerland, Denmark, and it's just fantastic. It takes a lot of preparation, as does a conference, to put together an activity. Usually between 9 and 12 months, all that preparation, because you're actually bringing together around 30 or 40 young deafblind people, all meeting in the same location. And like all planning, you think along that journey, oh, why did I bother? But in the end, when you can see how much it means for deafblind youth to meet their peer group, perhaps for the first time internationally, and you sit down and you think it is all worth it. It's a magical experience. I would say with deafblind youth as well, the fact that that peer group is very important. We have in our membership a lot of young people who are isolated from the nature of their disability, but also geographically from far-flung countries. So these activity experiences are groundbreaking, and they provide friendships that will be long-lasting over a lifetime. And as I mentioned, the youth theatre group, I wrote a play about Helen Keller, which in my last presentation, I talked about youth theatre and deafblind theatre, and I decided to talk a bit about how I put together a production by a deafblind theatre group. And I thought the best way to do this was to actually recreate the stage area in front of me and talk through how some of the challenges in putting together a theatre performance through deafblind people, which was a little bit different, but it worked really well. I was really pleased. And I think we're going on to our publications now. Yes. So aside from the activities, we have a few publications. We have a glimpse of our world and a glimpse of our COVID world. I have got some copies here, and I was going to have them available. I had some shipped over from England, from where I'm from, because I thought if I put all these books in my luggage, I'll need another suitcase, so I had them shipped over. Now, the amusing thing is I can't find them. So if you're somewhere and you come across a big box full of books, they're mine. They've got to be somewhere in the building, and I will track them down. So we started off, the first publication was called A Glimpse of Our World, and it was just testimonies by deafblind youth about their lifestyles and the cultural differences. I found that quite fascinating. And then we moved on to A Glimpse of Our COVID World, which is a similar testimonies, but living as a deafblind young person through COVID. And here's some of the pictures from our wonderful activities. There we are at Disney, Switzerland. And that was an exchange program. We ran an exchange program with young people from Australia and in the UK. And this is the youth group. We're performing our Helen Keller production. I'll go back to that one. So, coming up to 2020 and April, and I'd spent the previous 12 months planning an activity over in Washington, D.C. Everything had been arranged. We'd even arranged to go to the Pentagon. And it was going to be an activity with the most attendance of deafblind youth from numerous countries. And I think kind of around the February time, I first heard about COVID, but like a lot of us put it to the back of my mind, that's not going to affect what's coming up. And then around March, just literally a few days before the activity, I had to postpone it. And I don't know, I was more involved in unplanning something than actually planning, but nobody's written any guidelines to unplan an activity, but it just meant contacting everybody. A very sort of disheartening experience, but you know, all I was doing, I suppose, was cancelling an activity. There's far greater implications of COVID, but this in a way led to the 2 years of times where things were very quiet with the youth network, and we had to resort really to virtually keeping in touch, keeping in contact. And this is where myself and a lady called Amanda Creighton, she's from New York, and we decided, what could we do to help the young deafblind people to remain in touch and keep that momentum within the network. We didn't want the network to fold. We didn't want people to forget about us, because we were very active. So we thought we would introduce something called Friends in Touch. It's a great name, isn't it? Friends in Touch. It's a really it's an empowering and very relevant to what we wanted to achieve. So we decided to do a consultation with our deafblind youth membership, really about how they would like to remain in touch with each other and how that was going to work. So we asked sort of what your experiences were around the COVID time. This was kind of in the middle of COVID, and some of the sort of feedback I will read to you now. So I started communicating with other people by sending messages on WhatsApp and through Samsung. Good vibes. Since I was at home all the time, I taught my sister how to sign. And that was from Pushpa. Alex said, during the lockdown, we've struggled with accessibility issues and the greater need for support. It was fantastic to learn different forms of technology to help me catch up with people. And another one, once lockdown was announced, I had to move back to my village. There I do not have any friends who I can communicate in sign language. Fortunately, I'd managed to buy a smartphone and explored how to use it. So it was kind of a mixed reaction. It wasn't as, I thought it would be quite negative, really, about losing friendships and sort of that ability to remain in contact with people. But it was mixed. COVID, I mean, it challenged us all, but technology, in the introduction of technology, remained us all getting the opportunity to make contact with each other in different ways. And with young people, wow, they're the kind of leaders when it comes to technology, so I learned quite a lot. So myself and Amanda decided to launch the Friends in Touch program, which is still very active today. And hopefully by coming along to this session, I don't know if you are, well, practitioners with deafblind youth, whether you will want to look at membership for the people you support into Friends in Touch. So our aim was to connect deafblind youth across the world, encourage friendship, combat isolation, foster learning about cultures, and promote communication. Friends in Touch is intended to be inclusive of all communication styles, from pre-symbolic to formal. Participants can choose to correspond via email and/or send physical mail. So I'll get on to the types of communication afterwards, because we knew that was going to be a challenge. Because we all want to be inclusive, but putting it into practice is a challenge, isn't it? We don't want to exclude anybody from have a friendship with their peer group. So following on for that, one of the aims was to match young people according to similar interests and communication methods. We aim to ensure the programme is delivered safely and effectively. We will seek regular feedback from participants. We weren't sure, obviously, when we started the programme, what the interest would be. You never do you really? When you start something, I didn't know today whether I would be just here chatting to myself. Nobody kind of knows. Thankfully not. But when the program was rolled out, we were overcome with the interest. It was magnificent listening to the emails popping in. So in the beginning, we promoted the Friends in Touch program. We ran some virtual forums. These were kind of online events for our deafblind youth membership. We made contact with all our existing members who'd been on the activities, just to let them know that we're still active and we're still here. Various mail-outs, social media, and networking, all online networking. And we did this sort of in a range of languages so that we could reach as many people as possible. Just take a drink. So the link there, I don't think it is possible to click onto the link, but that was a participant form which asked that basic information. When we circulated the information about the project and we got that fantastic response, there was a process then of gathering the information from the potential members of the project who wanted to participate. And we kept it straightforward. It really was kind of that basic information, and we didn't want to make it more complicated. We didn't want to put people off. So we asked, are they a youth network member? What name you are known by? The country you live in, your email address, your age, and your interests. In gaining that sort of information, it's a good overview of somebody. Then we asked the question, how do you want to send and receive and read mail? Please state all that apply from that wonderful list. So again, my colleague Amanda, who is definitely a specialist in assistive technology, came up with a sort of really good inclusive list. So we hope that we covered all the different ways young people may wish to communicate with each other. And it was important that we sort of gave these, I would say, total communication options. And looking at the project, the young people have definitely used every single one of these. which was good to see. So I thought we got it right with our list. I'm sure more methods of communication, especially with technology, could be added to the list. I think I learn about, and I've certainly learned at the conference, different ways of assistive technology. It just develops on a daily basis. Ooh. So we then came up with a database of Friends in Touch membership. And we had a really nice database of around 40 young deafblind people. So when we collated all this information, it did take some time. And here are some examples. I've obviously abbreviated the names. So it's a female, she was 22, from Iceland. And she stated that her interests were nature, animals, music, playing guitar, songwriting, and audiobooks. We found on occasions we had to ask for sort of further information because some of the responses needed to go into more detail. So we could then come up with matching friendships. And then below the interests was how that person would like to receive their communication from their friend. And in this instance, they're interested in receiving physical mail with print, braille, photo, and tactile. Large print in high contrast is needed. With a dark felt tip pen for handwritten text or bold, white, Arial font size 28 on a black background. So that's lots of information, which was very, very useful and really sort of helped with the process. And we have a male, 18. He was from Canada. So, like all Canadians, likes hockey, skateboarding, and sports. And would like to receive text-based emails and send the same. And then finally we have someone from India who enjoyed poetry, dancing. Is there a comma between dancing and animals? Or is it dancing animals? Video games, advocacy for deafblind youth. I know who this is. She likes email communication. She has speech recognition, Android TalkBack, and WhatsApp. If she has more than one friend. So we did open it up for the friendships, not just on a one-to-one basis. And as the project has run along, then we've seen, well, I'll come back to the feedback in a minute, but there's been some fantastic feedback, which is so rewarding to see. When you start something and you don't know how it's going to develop, to kind of find that really positive information. And then you kind of think, well, this is why I started it in the end. This is what it's all about. I've not looked at my slides. Oh, we had so again, we have a 22-year-old from Finland who was interested in information technology, chess, downhill skiing, spinning and tandem, interested in receiving and sending text-based emails and braille-based physical mail written in Finnish or English. So there were a few barriers, problematic situations that we needed to overcome, a lot relating to sort of how to communicate in different languages and trying to sort of set up a friendship where language wasn't a barrier, but we managed to achieve that. So there's quite a bit of good fortune along the way. So I wonder if that's going. I'll go forward and then back. Oh no, I've got to that one now. Just want to see what that's it. And then it's that one. Right, so what did we do with all this information? Well, all along the project, we were looking at being very compliant, being very, very safe, because you are holding a lot of data. And myself and Amanda had many a meeting where we discussed the safety aspect of things, the compliance, not putting anybody at risk by their information, not being wanting to, where they don't want to share it. And I think, well, I'm 100% sure, we covered every aspect of the process, because it was very, very important to do that and to give the reassurance to the young person and involve them in the project, and the link-ups with the friends, the potential friends. So we held forums where we consulted our sort of membership about the process. Other professionals who work in specialist fields with child protection and general safeguarding. Although myself and Amanda have those skills in our practitioner roles, it was good to involve some real check-in with sort of those specialists. So that's just such an important part of the project, the safety side of things. So we did some good consultation and got some really good feedback. This was some of the feedback from the project, but on to the next stage. So we put together a database of around 30 to 40 young people, gathered all that information. Amanda, I wish she was here because she could have sort of explained her database, which was wonderfully color-coded, and all the different sections relative to communication methods, hobbies and interests, nationality, language. She somehow came up with this amazing document that was really, really accessible with all that different information, which was brilliant. And then it was the process of matching up young deafblind people for their peer group friendships. We looked at as I mentioned, we looked at some of the similarities, but it's you still have to consider that, like with all friendships, nobody actually knows how well two people will gel. So we gave it kind of, a bit of a wide berth to it, where we weren't getting too sort of worrying about how kind of things that whether this friendship would actually flourish. Really, we didn't. We thought we had to give it that sort of space for it to actually roll out, and it was important not to worry too much. Whereas we did our link-ups and made that contact with all the members. So the next part of the process was to individually make contact with everybody who'd stated that they want to join the Friends in Touch project. And once we made that contact, we linked up the two potential friends. As I mentioned earlier about the different communication methods, so that was all taken into consideration, and then we were sort of ready for the project to be officially rolled out with the first few friendships. So we were quite nervous when it started. We were unsure of the success when we'd got this database. because it was any new project, you're not totally sure how everything will work out. But from the first sort of early starts of the project, we could see it was very sort of positive, and we were getting some really good feedback even at the initial stages. Just going back because so some early feedback. It was nice to be connecting and meet a new person and to look forward to our communications. For example, I learned that there is a full different living quality for people with deaf blindness and disabilities in Somali than in Finland. I also developed my English skills. Yes, I am happy that there is communication and acquaintance with my new colleague, and there is an exchange in dialogue and the transfer of cultures. It is good to get acquainted with a person who advocates the rights of people with disabilities in their country, and we transfer experiences and communicate. So, and that is the Somalia and Finland. So this was some of the very early feedback, which we were delighted, and then it kept coming in. We got these great friendships, and we were really buzzing because it was sort of really successful, even in those early stages. And at this point, we were slowly coming out of COVID. But I think for the deaf, especially those who were very isolated, it was something they really grasped hold on. And some of the feedback was, wow, we'd found this friendship, and I'd not had anybody who I can speak to because I'm so isolated, and it's COVID. And now I've got this friend who's in my same peer group, and it's a lifeline to me, and I've developed a really good friendship, and it's turned my life around. So this really did encourage us, and I think you kind of need that really good positive feedback. So if we go forward about 6 to 9 months in the project, and we've got around 35 different friendships between deafblind youth, and a lot of them were unexpected. When we tried to match people up, we had an idea of who would make a good friend, a good acquaintance to somebody else, but we were quite surprised by some of the friendships. A lot of the feedback around sort of the excitement of learning about someone else's culture, and some of the young people hadn't got deafblind friends in their own country, and very few friends, and they were suddenly had a friend in another country who was experiencing the same things. And I would say, if you're a young person, that is really enriching. It's really important in your life that you can have a friend, even if at this stage it was virtually. So we decided to run another project in the middle of the Friends in Touch, just because, not that we needed extra work, but we decided to produce a cookbook. And I've got a copy here. And this is recipes from deafblind youth. Many of them are in the Friends in Touch program. So we got in touch with everybody and said, is there a recipe you would like to share from your country, or it may be just one within your family? And we shared all these, and the response was really good. So we decided to put together a cookbook, and we've got deafblind young people submitting their recipes from their individual countries, and it's just a fantastic array of sensory. Every time I read it, I feel really, really hungry. there's a remarkable variation on traditional recipes. And I did have this idea that we would do something where at this conference we could have an evening session where we could cook some of these, but I'll save that for another day. It would be quite difficult, wouldn't it, bringing in lots of different ingredients from around the world. How am I doing for time? Are you going to give me the 3 o'clock? 5 after 3? What time? 3:15? Oh, dear. Sorry, right. Right, this was important, the friendship check-in. So what we wanted to do with the young people who'd created these friendships, it was really good to keep a regular check-in, because we wanted the friendships to be personal to the young people, and we didn't want to be invasive. We didn't want to direct the friendships. That's not our kind of, not what we wanted to do. We wanted them to be as open as possible, but we still needed to check in. It was very, very important. So we asked the young people, what have the positives been about your friendships? How often have you been able to communicate with your friend? Have there been any difficulties with your friendship? Is there any support or help you require with your friendship? And have you any other comments you wish to make about Friends in Touch? So it was important that we had these check-in sessions. Again, keeping everything compliant and safe. If there were any challenges in a personal way, in a way we didn't want people to feel uncomfortable about any of the friendships, so it was important to keep in contact with everybody. Okay, and again we had some marvelous feedback at the end, which I will skip over because we can do some questions in a moment, but here's one relevant to Canada. So I enjoyed learning about the culture of Canada. This is a country I did not have ideas about before. I would one day like to visit. My friend is good fun, and we enjoy jokes, a message about our home life, family and education. The time zone can sometimes be interesting and sometimes it can be a problem. So we didn't actually think of that when we set it up. If you've got a friend in Australia and it's the middle of the night, so again it's something that you have to bear in mind. I've learned so much about technology from my friend, using this to teach myself apps and programs for the deafblind user. Technology moves so fast and I want to keep pace. Where I work, in my deafblind service, we have a young lady there. Her feedback's not on there, but she's made several friends from around the world. And from speaking to her on a fairly regular basis, because I work with the family as a practitioner, it's fascinating to know what she's sort of learnt culturally from around the world. The last one there is quite lengthy, but it's all very positive feedback. When we do the questions, I wanted to sort of it's not negative feedback. We've had feedback where there have been difficulties and we've had to resolve those difficulties that often relate to things like time difference, communication. Yes, there may have been occasions where the match wasn't exactly right, personality-wise, but I think in all our friendships, personalities always don't match up. And now we have something called Slack, which Amanda set up, which is a communication portal. So we use that, and so potential friendships are put onto the Slack database, where the young person will, all that initial questionnaire, it's all technology, and they will upload the information about themselves, and other deafblind young people can see that information. So it's a request for friendships. That's it. So Amanda's at the top because she's the top. She's the it's her. She's the person I turn to, and that's me at the bottom. So really, those two emails would be for anyone who is associated with deafblind youth, whether it's through your work, your daily practice, and you think they may be interested in the Friends in Touch program, linking up with other young people throughout the world and creating friendships and all the positives from that. And finally, to add, as we're now looking to our activity, which will take place in 2024, and we will finally be able to bring a lot of our original members, a lot of our original Deafblind Youth Network members together again to meet, but also from our Friends in Touch program, people will actually be able to meet in person, which will be, again, something that will be magical, definitely. From going through it in 40 minutes, talking through it, it sounds quite straightforward, but and credit to Amanda, she's put in a lot of hours to make it successful, because there's a big process. Sounds like a small project, but it's kind of huge, but it's been very successful. And thanks for letting me share with you. Have we got time for the odd question? Okay. Right. Great stuff. What tends to happen? Do I? Could you? And I'll go on to that.
Hello, thank you very much for that presentation. That was fascinating, and what an exciting project.
Thank you. Thanks.
I've got a whole list of questions.
Have you?
I'll stick to one for now. Is this project accessible to young people with congenital deafblindness and additional needs?
Yeah, because I've predominantly worked with congenital deafblind and additional complex needs, which I very much advocate, because that's my day job. So yes, it is. It really is. That was one of the aims of the project, and the inclusion-wise, to make it, even if it's a video or a sound recording, just a way of establishing a communication between congenital complex needs. I've worked a lot with friendships of very complex needs, because I don't want it to be just for young people who have high-level communication skills and all technology. It's not all about that kind of those with that high level of ability. It has to be inclusive. It could be a posted out picture or something, or it could be, there's no boundaries to communication in friendships.
Thank you. I'll catch you personally for the others if there's no time left.
Yeah.
Hi, Simon. Thank you. That was really interesting. My name is Lauren Lieberman. I'm from SUNY Brockport in Brockport, New York. That's near Rochester. And my question is, like, thinking about that big gathering of people who are deafblind from all over the world, did they bring their own interpreters? Because I think of the language barriers, if you were to even provide interpreters, that wouldn't probably work.
Yeah, so yes, they come along with their interpreters, interveners, support staff. May have had a few who are independent enough, but on the whole, and that's when cost, of course, has to be taken into consideration. But the interpreters and interveners will definitely be, that's all about their job role, intervening and interpreting. And I think that it's a test sometimes for them. They really have to work hard, and it's in a positive way, because wow, we're not just interpreting in our we've got a whole range of different communication, different languages, so an upskill of lots of things, so a great experience. And they've always been really successful activities that have, for years to come, people have linked up, and that's the positive side of it, yeah. Still, go on, Lucy.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't introduce myself.
No.
My name's Lilius. I'm from the UK, and I have a son with congenital deafblindness, hence my interest in the question just now. Another question is, how is it financed? Are the young people themselves expected to finance all the costs associated with buying the technology or having the technology, and in getting to, and whatever other expenses there are around the meetups, the activities?
That's a big question, isn't it? It's a very important. It's the most important question. I mean, so no, it's there is funding which pays for the activity side. So say that we are in a location and we go to visit a farm, then that's the funding. Aside from that, unfortunately, it is self-funded transport, accommodation, and the venue. However, we do work with a travel provider who provides a very competitive price, and it's a group booking, so we will do our best to get the cheapest option, because that attracts. And that very first Disney activity, I would imagine it's probably double. I can't believe how much everything priced, airfares, everything. So it's trying to keep competitive, but it is a bit demoralizing when, say, as an example, we have membership in Romania, and they're going to find it near enough impossible because of socio-economic. It's trying to get everybody, it's something you try and achieve, but in the end, money side of it is a big challenge, the biggest of the challenges. And it does restrict some people. And I wish there was more money so people didn't get that opportunity, but...
Sorry, we ran out of time. But I'm sure you're willing to talk to anyone that has questions afterwards.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. So just as a token of our thank you for coming and presenting, we have a small gift for you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'm really curious to know what's in these.